Greetings, beautiful souls. This is Bevin Niemann-Cortez, and Prospero Año to you and to yours. May this 2024 be your best year ever. And I wanted to get on and just coming back from my sabbatical, energized to deliver these kinds of messages again and really connect in with the energies of the collective. And possibly you'll hear some messages in here that are for you individually as we look forward to this 2024. But let's talk for just a moment about the year we just left. I think most of us are probably pretty happy that that is done. We're like, whoo, that was intense. And as a collective year, numerologically, 2023 was a 7 year, right? A 7. And 7 is looking at a higher octave, a higher frequency. So if you look at the numbers between 0 and 9, right? 0 being the beginning, the void, all of the possibility, and 9 being the completion. When we get to a 7 year, we're 2/3 of the way through that process, and we're starting to open our eyes. We're starting to learn. We're starting to listen. We're starting to question, perhaps. I know we're always questioning as spiritual seekers, but the general collective does not always question. A lot of times they just sort of take what is fed to us by the media, by corporations, by our family system, by our religion, whatever that may be. And so there's a lot of people who are really starting to open and starting to awaken, even more so. So these waves of awakening, right? It didn't just happen yesterday, and we didn't just have the awakening at the time when we did, which for me was around 2012. But there are always people who are kind of waking up and asking, is this all there is, right? Is all we're supposed to do is get up every morning, go to work for a 9 to 5 or whatever it is that you work, come home, sit in front of the TV, veg out, and then get up and do it all over again. Isn't there something more to that? And really, the experience that we had as a global collective with the pandemic really facilitated a lot of this questioning. And so as much of a dumpster fire as 2023 was, it's really important for us to go through that as a whole, as a human species, really unveiling a lot of things, and more of that is going to happen in this year, but really unveiling and unraveling, why do we do things this way, and why is the economy set up this way, and why is work set up this way, and how come we don't have, I happen to come from a home country that, for example, doesn't have universal health care, that doesn't have universal childcare, and those kinds of things. People began to ask a lot of questions, and you see that after the pandemic, we were trying to rebuild, right? We were looking at our different options. Let me see if I can get this to zoom in here. And, he's trying to cultivate more opportunities for himself. In 2023, I saw a lot of people changing their professions, trying something new, going back to school, experimenting, doing a side job in addition to your regular, profession, and really looking at like what is possible here. And I think that for many of us, as soon as the quarantine lifted, as soon as we could get out there, we were like, okay, great, let's just get back to normal, right? You heard a lot of people saying, I wish we could just get back to normal. But the fact remains is normal has changed. And we realized there really isn't any normal, right? There were things that we allowed ourselves to be kind of pulled into, and I spent a lot of time in the corporate world in my profession. I spent a lot of time in relationships that weren't healthy for me. So believe me, I'm not throwing shade on anyone. I'm talking about the idea that what was pre-pandemic will never be again. We come into the number 8 year, and if you look at the number 8 and you turn it on the side, you have this infinity symbol, right? This infinity symbol, this endless loop of giving and receiving. This endless loop of karma, if you believe in reincarnation, coming onto this planet, doing the things that you do, maybe having interactions with people that you weren't able to get resolved, and the next time around you get to do it again. Yay. I know every single one of you is like, I can think of someone who's probably karmic in my life. So it's a really interesting year. And we both have a collective year, which is the numerals in the year. 2 + 0 + 2 + 4 is 8. And then each of us has an individual, a personal year, depending on when we were born. So I just finished my number 8 year. I'm about 1 year ahead of the collective. So in March, when my birthday comes around, I will enter my number 9 year. So I can tell you a little bit about what it's like. And a few things were really, really vital and important in my journey. And I'm seeing a lot of changes in this realm. And so if we talk about the 4 suits of the tarot, or a card deck, as you will, we want to start with the swords. I think I'm going to put it on this side. It's a little easier to see. So here we have the 8 of Swords. And you see this young woman who's basically has her hands tied behind her back. There is a circle of swords surrounding her, right? So perhaps a feeling of danger. I remember thinking how crazy this was during the COVID pandemic, to walk around in public and feel like my other human beings may give me something horrible, right? It was a terrible feeling to feel like that, and always having to distance ourselves. So we're still having some holdovers from that. But when we look at the swords energy, it's really about our mental habits, okay? Our mental habits, and assessing whether our mental habits, the routine thoughts and beliefs that parade through our minds. And highly sensitive people and empaths have really deep, intricate inner worlds, right? And so we can go there. Sometimes I call this the catastrophizing voice, because it can have me thinking, what is the worst case scenario that could possibly happen? So this is a year when we can all address this. We can all start to have more self-awareness of what are those thoughts that are parading through my mind. Is that helpful to me? Is that not helpful to me? Is there a different way that I could think about it? Is there a way that I can unbind myself from this mental prison, right? And in the background, you see there's actually some really beautiful kind of castles, but it's really foggy back there. So these are the things that are of benefit to us. These are the areas where we're going to find sanctuary. We're going to have safety. We're going to have stability, but we can't see it. It seems so far away. We'd have to go all the way across this water to actually be there in that space. And so we get ourselves wound up in this mental prison, and we can't see our blind spots. And so we're going to see, both on an individual level and a societal level, a lot of recognition of where things have been dysfunctional. To me, this is also a card of propaganda. We're seeing a lot of propaganda. And of course, with the advent of the internet and then social media, stories can catch like wildfire. And now it doesn't matter whether they're true or not true or have any kind of factual basis. They just can be spread around, and they get passed from one person to the other, and the fear builds, and all of this builds. And so it's really important for us, especially as deep thinkers, especially as people who process things very, very intensely, to be aware this year of where we're doing that, of where we're telling ourselves negative things about us, where we are holding old stories about other people, about institutions, about systems and structures and all of those things. And really, and I know that a lot of people in my audience are not in the United States, although I will, I guess, put out there that the United States, unfortunately, has an oversized influence on the world, and kind of whatever's going on there seems to affect a lot of other people in other countries. And so, to me, this card represents the American dream being revealed as not that, right? So as a person who used to live in the United States, and I've been away now for about a year, I grew up with the idea of the American dream. And this may be true in whatever country you are. It's like, oh, here's this rosy view of what's happening, when in fact, what's happening is really hurting a lot of people. And so I think there's just been so much more understanding of this, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what some of those things are that are being revealed as we get into these cards a little more deeply. I love this card, which is also from another deck. This is also the 8 of Swords. And there you go. Now you can see. So you can see that he has one dagger, which is actually wounding him, right? And then there's another one, which is pointing upward, which is elevated and, it's more inspired thinking. It's more inspired communication. So we can either choose communication, internal and external, that wounds or that heals, right? That provides, new direction and new insights and things like that. Or we can do the same old thing. And so this is just a clarification of the very first card that I said. So again, this Eight of Swords is what kind of habitual thinking patterns are we engaging in? And then conversely, as we go through that infinity loop, what are those mental patterns doing or not doing for us? And how can we start to shift that and become aware? And this is a very lengthy process. It doesn't happen immediately. And we need to be really careful, because as we're observing that film strip of thoughts going through our minds and beliefs, we could be just as harsh as ourselves, just as harsh on ourselves as the original thought. So we can't be like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking that, when in fact, we need to give ourselves grace. We all have strange, obtrusive, internal thoughts, like, ooh, that was kind of dark, or that was kind of strange, or I don't know where I got that idea. We all have that. Every single human has that. It's a result of being on this planet for a number of years and having all of these different influences, your family of origin, media, friends, workplaces, all those things. We pick stuff up, and the mental center is one of the key places that we need to be working on. It doesn't mean we have to be like perfectly sunny and everything's wonderful and it's like over optimistic. I want us to be realistic. I think it's really important that we're able to take that blindfold off and see things for what they are, whether it's in our personal lives or in a broader context. But we need to not be pessimistic either, because why did we all come here? Why did we all work so hard and give and show up as empaths and show up as HSPs if we didn't think that there was a way for the world to get better? So I have to remind myself, because I can get into that downward spiral, especially if I watch the news or I'm on YouTube checking out different news, even if it's alternative media. Sometimes it can be very clickbaity and very trying to draw you into some kind of rage and this kind of thing. So we have to be really careful about communications in general. Let's talk about the suit of wands. Okay, so we have the Eight of Wands. Love this card. It's beautiful. All of these wands are pointing towards some farther destination. So the wands energy is the same as fire in the elements. And, it's like moving ahead, taking action, being confident and following a specific path. And in this case, I think more and more of us are going to find a specific path in 2024 that really resonates. You can see all of these flowers that are blooming and blossoming. Well, yes, that's where we want to go towards. If we're going towards things which are kind of dead, dormant, stagnant, don't bring any passion to our life, don't light your fire, so to speak, it's not the right direction, right? But understanding we're still at the 8. We haven't gotten to the 9 yet, and we're going to see what the 8 of Pentacles looks like in just a few minutes. But it's really important for us to keep in mind that we take one step after the other, after the other, after the other. This could mean it could take 8 months. This could mean that something could take 8 years. This year will mark the 8-year mark of me being in business for myself, of working deeply with empaths as a coach, and just, being able to look back over all the things that have happened to me over these last 8 years. And you might be able to do that too. This is a great time to revisit that 8-year cycle. What's happened for you? What have you learned? How have you grown? What didn't work out quite as you wanted? What would you really like more of? So the Wands energy says, not only are we going to be thinking about this, contemplating, but we're actually going to start taking action on things that bring us life, okay, that bring us life. This also relates really deeply to personal and societal boundaries. So, of course, empaths are always working on boundaries. It's sort of just a constant process for us, right? What is it? What's a deal breaker for you? Where are your value systems, and how are the things you're interacting with? Are they aligning with those value systems, or are they dissonant to that? What's happening in your relationships? Is it really working for you? Are you getting that reciprocal exchange? Because it's not supposed to be something that we keep score about, but there should be a balance of the energies. And then number 8 is a balanced year. It's an even year. So it's really about understanding what lights you up, moving away from anything that doesn't, having some kind of vision for where you're going next. And, that's a process. I did a lot of contemplation over this last 6 months about who do I want to be next? Like, how do I want my work to be in the world? What does that look like? What form does it take? And it's okay if you don't know, it's okay if you don't know. I asked myself a lot of questions over these last few months, and I'm still receiving answers. I'm still receiving guidance. I have an inkling of where I'm going, and I'm going to be sharing some of that below. But if you felt like you're floundering a little bit, like you were trying to move in the number 7 year, but you just couldn't get any traction, this is the year when you're going to be able to set those foundations, and you're going to be able to establish a structure and a system for yourself, whether that's in your business, in your career, with your family system, with your health, some kind of journey with that. You're ready for this. You take all of these different things that you've learned of the last 8-year cycle, or 8 decades, or however long you've been around on this planet, and you're going to be able to utilize each of those as a tool. And then we come to the other deck, which I love. This is a person who's like, I'm doing it, right? So this is a commitment that you're making. This is a commitment that you're making to taking something on, to make yourself more public. This is really like the card of the Leo, right? Leo is a person who doesn't mind being in the spotlight. And a lot of us, especially introverts, are nervous about being in the spotlight, right? Even getting on and doing something like this recording that I'm doing would be kind of nerve-wracking for some people. And that's okay. It was for me too. I hated public speaking. I was so self-conscious about what I looked like on camera. But this is a year when we say, you know what? F it. I'm doing it anyway. I'm doing it. I'm not letting anything pass me by. You can see that she no longer has the blindfold. She's still wearing this beautiful mask and headdress, which is sort of like owning her power, her wisdom. This is the card of willpower. This is the card of consistency and putting in that time and that energy into this work, whatever that may be for you. But this is going for it. And I love it. I'm here for it. And in society, we're going to see maybe systems and structures that we have been sort of burning down, if you will, through criticism, through, protests, through all of those kinds of things, finally starting to make a shift. Finally, the will of the people is starting to be heard. It's been a while, many people have been working on this for, maybe even as long as human beings have been on this planet, like, oh, I don't like this person's leadership and I'm going to protest this in different ways and different forms. But this is the time when we finally start to see some progress towards that. Anything that has not been fulfilling, even if it's in a beautiful, shiny container, we are considering just walking away and leaving it, and this is what I did a year ago when I came to Mexico. So that was about the beginning of my number 8 year. I just sold all my furniture, sold my car, finished the lease on the apartment that we were renting, put things in 6 suitcases, and off we went to Mexico. It was terrifying. It was terrifying. Sometimes it's really terrifying to do this, to walk away from everything you've known. It doesn't mean you have to walk away from everything, though. You see, there's still a lot of spirit orbs, or these could be interpreted as stars. There is a guidance system here. So And, you know, what I always tell my clients is that all of these things that you learned in these parts of your life are going to be essential. Okay. They were important then, and they're going to be essential for this forward journey. And again, we have the theme of water, of a long journey across the water. So we're starting on a new cycle as a collective and perhaps individually, in which we're going to have to row for a while. We're going to have to get in the boat. We're going to row, and we're going to row, and we're going to come across different lands, and we're going to meet different people. We're going to learn different things. We're going to study different things, and we're going to experience different flora and fauna, so to speak, along the journey. We're embarking now as a collective species on a completely different vision for what our planet should be. And the cups are the suite of love, of passion, of connection, of feeling fulfilled, of feeling happy and healthy, and you know, really on the right path. And when we're not, it feels crappy, right? It feels really crappy, and we feel lost. You know, you're gonna kind of see her just staring out into the distance. It's at night. There's only a sliver of a moon. She can't see a lot of where she's going, but she does know, she, he, they, doesn't matter. She does know that, you know, she's doing it. She's going, you know, she cannot stay stagnant in this old situation anymore. And I love the compliment to this card. Here's the 8 of Cups as well. And you see this person, there's dolphins jumping for joy. And now the moon is full. So now the light is completely reflected. This person is seeing, look at all of the activation here coming into the crown and the third eye. And all of the chakra systems are just lit up. There's this beautiful like peace, balance, right? This is where we're going. So the way that we get there is by letting go of any of these things that do not make us feel like this. Any of these things that make us feel obscured, or having too many questions, or just feeling sad or down or unaligned. And in order to do this, we have the 8 of Pentacles, right? The 8 of Pentacles. So here's this person dedicated to their craft, whatever your craft is for you. You might be an artist, a musician, a yoga instructor, you know, a doctor, anything, you know. But it's really like, what is the next step? Because again, we're at the 8, we're not at the 9. So the 9 is the completion of the cycle. The 9 is mastery. We're so close. And if we give up now, we will never, ever achieve what it is that we're looking for. So we're burning the candle, hopefully not too much. We want to get good sleep, right? We're polishing this pentacle. A pentacle is basically something tangible, something earthly. It's a possession. It's money coming in. It's opportunities. It's a new job. It's a new relationship. It's something tangible, something we can hold in our hands, and we can work on it, and we can learn about it, and we can get better at it. You see, they're studying here, right? And here is the skull. I love the skull here. That is, you know, this nod to like letting go, right? This is the part of it that has to die in order for the new thing to be born. And this is really just listening to our intuition. You see the raven here, and he or she is just carefully studying this pentacle, looking at all the tangible things. So one of the things that's really important on an individual level is to, whenever we're faced with a decision, and we'll have lots of decisions to make over this next 8-year cycle, we have to look at the pros and cons. We have to sit down. Maybe you want to make a list, or you want to talk it out with someone in your life and say, here's the decision I'm thinking about making. Here are the pros. Here are the benefits of that. Here are the things that I'm worried about, or the things that could possibly happen that may not be as desirable. And then really just looking at all of that and making sure that the decisions that you're making have more pros than cons, right? Or at minimum, that they're fairly equal, and that the cons are not deal breakers. It's something that you could deal with. It's like, okay, if I go this direction, and yeah, these things aren't great, but it's okay because this really balances that out. If you don't have that, then time to go back to the drawing board, time to study a little bit more, time to make some more lists, time to really do that assessment within what tangibly in your life, and what kind of lifestyle, what kind of financial circumstance, what kind of career, what kind of relationships, what kind of health support, whatever it is really going to move the needle for you this next year. What is really going to be great for you? And then we really come into this card here. And I love her. She's sort of like a magician, shaman type, right? Again, so much activation at this third eye energy. And right here, she's holding this gorgeous, gorgeous crystal ball, right? So there's probably not a one of us that would like to be able to see the future. I mean, what if we could see that in advance and then we could make our decisions accordingly? Well, I mean, we can tap in to all the different possibilities, and you have the ability, and I have the ability to tap into the Akashic records or the collective consciousness, whatever you want to call it, and say, okay, if I go down this road, well, what will that bring to me? And what will I need to know? Who will I become? And is this the direction I want to go? If I go down this road, if I go down this road. So this is a person that has the ability to foresee the possibilities. Now, no one on this planet, I don't care if they tell you they can do it, no one can see the exact future because there's so many variables of free will that are involved. But she is deeply grounded and rooted. You see her staff here, right? And she has this ability to tap in to that intuitive knowing. And she has the ability to do things like say, okay, here's the choice I'm going to make. How does that feel in my body? Is there anyone complaining? Okay, right knee. What's going on there? How come you're not feeling this? What do I need to know? And really listening. So this is the part where we get in nature, where we do our meditation, we commit to connecting, okay, not just rushing off into our life every day, but actually making that spiritual connection. And I am not going to ever be a person who's going to tell you, yeah, you need to get up at 6 a.m. and you need to get on the mat and you need to sit there in cross-legged position and you must meditate for an hour. Meditation is very personal, okay? Making that spiritual connection, you have a specific way that works for you. And that may be through music or writing or walking in nature or name what it is, okay? Whatever it is, being in the shower. Sometimes I get great ideas when I'm washing dishes. It doesn't matter. We're doing something tangible and we open ourselves, then everything in life becomes meditative. And as we begin to realize that that is the truth of the world around us, is that everything is meditation, everything is spiritual, everything I'm watching has something to do with my spiritual evolution. Everything, every conversation I'm having, everything I read, everything I'm drawn to really has something to do with it. And so this is both a collective and an individual journey. And I'm also going to put a link with this video if you're interested in finding out what your personal numerology year is, because you want to look at both of those things. You're going to experience things with both. So even though I just finished the number 8 year, I kind of get to do it again with the collective, but while I'm also doing my 9 year. So they both, you know, come together and they make for this kind of experience. And everyone's experience is going to be completely different. How you interpret the cards that I just hold up is exactly the way you're going to interpret them. And you are going to see in your life, as you look back, and you can always go back and look at this reading, how this came to play. So in summary, we want to focus on releasing ourselves from a mental prison, right? Being aware of the thoughts that are running through our head and how they are influencing our emotions and our behavior. We also want to have a concerted vision with the wands energy. We want to use everything that we've already experienced over this last 8-year cycle, and you can go back and look at that and point us to a new direction. And it's going to be a longer journey, which is also coming through the 8 of Cups. We are going to be leaving some things behind. We're going to be grieving that. We're going to maybe be resisting leaving those things behind. But the sooner we can accept and surrender that those things are no longer for us, the quicker we can get to, yes, I'm doing this. I'm going to do this. And whatever it is that you're taking on next will require some study, maybe mentoring, maybe taking classes. I'm considering going back to school. So, opening ourselves to opportunities to learn and grow in this next chapter and getting ourselves really grounded every single day, being in that space of connecting through our spiritual energy, connecting through meditation, connecting through nature, however it works best for you, but being grounded. There is going to be a lot that will be disrupted in the collective this year, even more so than what we saw last year. More things being exposed, more things coming up to the surface. That's what happens when you're in a year where you're trying to balance the giving and receiving, the justice. And we're going to see that everything isn't as it seems. So we need to maintain our sense of personal sovereignty, our sense of core values, so we can watch society change around us and not be moved and budged by every single thing that comes in, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially. And empaths deserve to be healthy, to be fulfilled, to have enough resources to take care of ourselves, and to maintain our connection with all that is, whatever that looks like for you. So I thank you so much for being here, for connecting around this annual reading. I'm just so appreciative that you're taking a moment to connect with my work, to follow what I do. You're welcome to visit my website at bevin.life. And that is the best way to get connected with me. I have a weekly newsletter where I do some wonderful, topics on spirituality, social justice, and a variety of other things, energy work, and so on. Thank you so much, my friends, and I will see you soon in our next reading.